To understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
Now you should at least give a brother a moment to say something heroically clever.
You have failed this city.
So I have this thing with rolls.
Just the end of the world.
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
You're the boy from the circus.
I started up a security firm.
Finally, a superhero team I can actually get behind.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the DC TV report for the week ending Saturday, May 9th, 2020. I'm Little Eddie O'Hare, aspiring professional fanboy.
And I'm Sara, academic by day, writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And we have 4 new episodes this week.
4, well, 3.5, like, amazing episods.
What? I cannot wait to find out what the half that displeased you is.
I just thought we had a really solid group effort this week. I was very impressed with it. And we've got 4 shows back. It's so exciting. Sara, I'm excited. Just a heads up, there may be I'm using a new microphone, and the software that we use to record has been acting a little funky the last couple of weeks. So if there's any technical issues, I'm sorry. I'll do what I can in editing, but no promises.
Don't make me sound like any more of a chipmunk than I already sound, please.
No. But thank you everyone for listening. We really do appreciate it. And if you haven't given us, please rate and review us on your podcast app of choice. That helps more people find us. And also, if you want to be really helpful, we are part of Wicked Theory Studios, which does have a Patreon, patreon.com/Wicked Theory. And for as little as $1 a month, you can, help us with overhead. And there's a bonus podcast there called Ed Bonds with Bill, where you should be able to hear me and Bill Sweeney talk about James Bond movies. And the most recent episode we recorded was Diamonds Are Forever.
So you must have another one coming up soon.
No. We're doing them once a month now.
Oh, so, that's right. Right.
Yeah. So yeah. It's
Bill must be so sad. Only once a month.
I know. Well, if someone else decided they wanted to record more, hint, maybe. But I'm not gonna stress that issue. So yeah. We're all in. So Sara, how are you? Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, the school year is wrapping up this coming week. It's been a strange last 2 months of it, but we're all doing okay. So I'm about to be covered in grading, but virtually. Usually I have stacks of papers, but this time it's all submit online and I grade in Google Drive. So it's very strange, very different. But nope, it's been I've kind of enjoyed it. Good Zoom sessions with the students.
Okay.
So much of Zoom is a verb. Which I know it is, but it's a noun, it's a verb. It's a way of life.
Yeah, well,
How
and
are you?
I'm okay. This episode's dropping on Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the moms who may be listening.
Yes. Blessed day, all you moms.
Yes.
I'm sure if your kids aren't with you, they wish they could be.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't live with your mother, make sure you call her. You have no excuse. Call your mother.
Excuse.
Call your mother. There's like 3 people I know right now I'm gonna have to call to remind them to call their mom.
You're doing a service.
So yeah. Yeah. You want to jump into the episodes?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. First up is Batwoman. Season 1, Episode 18. If you believe in me, I'll believe in you. Kate and company scramble to find out where Tommy Elliot hid Lucius Fox's journal. Mary was bummed that Kate would not let her join the Bat Team. Alice and Mouse offered to help Tommy escape Arkham in exchange for the journal. Last minute reveal, Mouse gave Alice the bad news that the journal was written in code.
You gotta side eye anybody who writes their journal in code. What are you hiding, sir or ma'am?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Okay, I'm gonna make a bold statement for this week's episode. Too much face skinning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too much.
Yeah. And I think we're
Any
kind of
face skinning is too much. To be clear.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of pushing the term as to how long a face skin would stay viable.
Fresh, perky, if you will.
Yeah. I feel like there's a longer process in there. But it's a Mouse's thing, so
Who am I to get in the way of his joy?
yeah. Really cool thing that happened is it did set up for Hush to go into his classic look.
Well, I'm horrified. I had no idea that is Hush's deal, but yikes.
Yeah. So Hush, a prominent Batman villain from about 20 years ago. No, maybe 15. Originally drawn by Jim Lee. And so Batman. So Batwoman is gonna face off against Hush. Yeah. So that
he has no superpowers. He's just big mad about his face.
well, he's an elite level sniper. And he knows Batman's identity, and is using that to and he's using that against Batman. So so I'm guessing we're gonna see him next week. But for this episode, I just want to say I was worried, like, when Batwoman came out, it was just going to kind of be like an extension or an imitation of Arrow. But the action scenes that happened in this episode, I don't think we would have ever seen on Arrow, and really did a great job distinguishing itself.
That's funny because this episode was directed by James Bamford, who did so many Arrow action episodes. So they have the same sort of DNA behind the camera, but they do have a very different visual style. You're right.
Yeah. And that opening scene, that opening fight, just seeing the handheld camera following everything around, and the fast pace, really, like, I was like, all of the action scenes in this were really impressive. From a technical standpoint, and very different and unique, and not the kind of thing I would expect to see on network television.
Yeah. I just super love that her hair finally was a problem, because you're right, it is a great, like, that look, iconic, instantly iconic. I get it, and yet, yeah, that's a grab hazard. They should electrify that.
Yeah, Mary coming up with great ideas, and who's at fault here? Should Mary be surprised that Kate's not letting her in the club, or should Kate be like, "No, come on, you're in the club"?
So I actually love this disagreement, because Mary always feels semi-rejected by Kate, right? That's just the standard setting. And yet Kate just wants to protect her, and Mary doesn't know that because she feels rejected. Like, it's a great conflict because neither of them is wrong. They both are coming from a place of love and support, right? But I'm glad they finally talked to each other about it. Just talk it out, ladies, and they did.
Yeah, and and of course Mary would be the one who would be best equipped to go into that club.
Of course.
And how do you think we're inching closer to Mary and Luke hooking up?
You know, I almost feel like it was a little more platonic this week. I didn't feel the vibe quite as much. Did you?
I mean, I think there was a little bit of that tension. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're slowly moving in that direction.
I mean, I hope so. That would be
Mhm.
nice. As we've said before. I did love the nightclub scenes. Anytime you put Mary in that social setting, that's a lot of fun. I liked her bluffing her way in with cash to
Mhm.
buy back Kate's suit. I also loved the really bad fake swearing tonight. We had I don't give two hoots and we have I don't give a feel. Oh, Batwoman. There are better ways to swear on network TV.
Well, nothing beats. Have you ever seen the TV version, the TV edit of Raging Bull?
No.
Did you hug my wife? Did you hug my wife? You tell me right now, I swear. Did you hug my wife? Um. Oh, and we had a character come back this week. Reagan.
Oh, Reagan. At first, I was worried Reagan was going to get fridged. And
mm,
then much worse things happened.
yeah,
Treachery,
yeah.
betrayal.
So it turns out she's Magpie's sister. Who'd have thunk?
Who'd have thunk? But yeah, that was fun to have her back.
Yeah, and I thought that was a nice twist that she's the one who ended up getting the journal. And interesting. You can see that there's still kind of a little bit of chemistry there. And Kate kind of pulling a little bit of a what if, and this show's like, no, that really wouldn't have ever worked out.
Which obviously, right? But
Yeah.
you know. I also remain impressed with how they've done a complete heel turn on Sophie. She's so much better.
Yes. Yeah, and I think having Julia in there, Julia Pennyworth in there, kind of balanced her out a little bit, gave her someone to talk to. That wasn't just like the stiff board of the husband she had at the beginning of the series.
Ooh.
And and Julia having some interesting moments in this episode. It seems like she's developing as a character. And it looks like we're gonna be seeing a little bit more of her from now on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was kind of surprised. I guess I had assumed earlier the season that she'd be more of a one and done character, but I think it's great that she's hanging around. I love that they've set up a whole squad of women on and around Batwoman's team, and they have some lady villains, and they've just been doing interesting things. I'm excited about this show. I'm glad that it's finding its footing.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about when they were talking about the hair getting pulled and electrifying it and things like that. I feel like the hair is probably the best superhero camouflage in all of CW shows, because all you see is the hair, right? All you see is the red hair, and so it's going to be hard to look at the face when you have that. I mean, it's so much better than Arrow puts on a mask, but the hair is like it is. It's waving a flag at a bull. It's really kind of brilliant. That's all. It's great. Very smart, Luke/Kate.
Yeah. All right. Any news for Batwoman?
Okay. Other than the finale date, no news, and you're going to hear that a lot this week. But Batwoman is going to air its finale for its first season on May 17th. So we have 2 new episodes coming before it bows out for God knows how long.
Okay. So 2 episodes. So savor them.
Here's hoping for more good fights and face peeling.
All right. Ready to move on to the next show?
Absolutely.
Next show new back this week is Supergirl. Season 5, Episode 17, Deus Lex Machina. In the aftermath of Crisis, Lex Luthor worked behind the scenes to enlist Eve Tessmacher and foil Leviathan's plans. Lena got friendly with Kara again, and this upset Lex for some reason. Last minute reveal, Lex entered the Fortress of Solitude.
So I don't know if this is a thing that Supergirl is going to do from now on, but if we get a flashback to how the villain came to be every season, I don't hate it. This felt a lot like Man of Steel from last season when we saw how Captain Liberty rose to prominence. This was great. I love me a Lex Luthor episode. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think really the key here is John Cryer.
100%.
And yeah, this was Lex. You got to see him in full force. You got to see kind of the way his brain works. And really kind of like his, he does have this weak spot for Kryptonians, where if they're involved, he will try to find a way to destroy them. Whether it's really crucial to his plan or not.
Lex. Every villain has his Achilles heel. I like that this Earth Lillian was just like, yeah, dude, you can't do that. It's not going to be helpful. I love this Earth Lillian. Oh, I'm sorry. Would your Lillian have fallen to the ground at world destruction? Well, then she wasn't very worth it, was she? Then I am an upgrade.
Yeah. And I think we got a better explanation for Jeremiah's death.
Yes, that was an audible gasp for me. Oh my god. I at the time it felt a little, Jeremiah died in a jungle somewhere? Okay. And it just felt a little vague and sketchy. I had no idea they were going to actually make it part of something bigger. That was really great.
Yeah. And getting to see Eve Tessmacher kind of get her heart broken again.
Poor Eve.
Yeah.
I mean, it was inevitable. We all knew it was coming, but it was still hard to see.
Yeah, and even Lex thinking that she was his weak spot last time was just missing the point.
Yeah. I feel as though if you're gonna put Brandon Routh Superman on the screen, you've got to warn a person. Like, I need a second to brace. You can't just be like, bam, here's all these Supermen. No, gotta warn me.
That's right. We got all the flashbacks to Crisis at the beginning of the episode.
Well, I love an episode that takes things we've seen before and then shows us a new layer or a new nuance or a new perspective, and this episode did that so well. I really enjoyed that. This was Melissa Benoist's directorial debut, which explains why Supergirl was not in this as much. It was great. It was a great way to use her directing skills in a Lex-centric episode, but I just love anything that fleshes out the wheels behind the events that we have seen already this season. So yeah, this was a huge success for me.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where like the story itself did not move forward very much, but we did get a lot more context for what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, did you recognize Jason Mewes?
Yes.
I 100% did not.
No. Jason Mewes is no. I'm always going to recognize him in those types of parts. Just because, like, if you've heard him on podcasts, you just know that he is obsessed. Like, he's the guy who got Kevin Smith to start watching Flash. And as much as Kevin Smith loves those shows, Jason Mewes is even more into them. But he will take any bit part that he can, and he showed up. I mean, basically Jay and Silent Bob showed up on Arrow one episode, and I think most episodes Kevin Smith's directed, Mewes has found a way into them. So I thought that was great that he got one more really weird bit part.
Benoist was in some movie with him, wasn't she? I
Oh,
did not
probably.
do our
Mhm.
listeners the courtesy of looking at it. She was in Blunt Man and Chronic, maybe, when they
Oh,
made some kind of
Jay and
movies
Silent
or
Bob
something.
reboot.
Is that what? Whatever. She was in a movie
Mhm.
movie
Yeah.
with them playing some kind of superhero, I think. And so it makes sense. Like I see the familial connections there, the filmmaking familial connections that got him on there. Anyway, whatever. Can we just talk for a second about the message escape the event and find comfort in Obsidian North Platinum VR? Felt a little bit like escape the pandemic and find comfort in Tiger King / Animal Crossing / like it felt a little too how we live now, and I didn't like it.
Mm,
It was a little
mm.
too on the nose, a little too like yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also kind of weird because, like, if you think back to the beginning of this season, and the whole point of this season is supposed to be like we rely too much on technology, um, and in the current living situation, like technology is the only thing that's sort of making this palatable.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, it's kind of bad timing for this show to be warning us about virtual connections when that's the only connection a lot of people have right now. So it's really interesting. I wonder if they had the luxury of finishing the season, if they would have changed that message based on what's, I'm just curious if what's happening now changes that message at all. I don't know. It's gosh, if only I was a recapper for EW and could talk about these. Oh wait, I am. So yeah, that's something that I might be ruminating on
yeah,
coming
yeah,
up here.
yeah. I mean, I thought this was a weird choice of topic from the beginning.
Hmm.
That whole anti-technology seemed a little passe, but you know, I do think the VR stuff. You've had some interesting episodes here. Um, yeah, and the thing that I'm still not sure of is what Leviathan's end game is here. Like, is it meant to take over the world, or is it to control humanity? Like,
Well, Gamemne clearly said she wanted everybody to log on so she could kill them all at the same time. So I feel like this is exterminating the plague of humans from the earth, which I
mm,
don't quite know
hmm.
what that gets them. I guess
Yeah.
it gets them a saved Earth, and maybe they save a couple humans.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, like most villains, I feel like it's a little nebulous. So maybe we just need her to get Supergirl captured so she can just unload her whole plan on Supergirl. Or is that only a James Bond villain
It's been used other places.
thing?
Yeah,
All I know is
yeah,
R.I.P. Margot. She hung out for a while and she just, couldn't make it
mm,
to the finish line.
yeah, yeah.
That's the
It's a
old
shame.
woman. If people are less steeped in Supergirl minutia, the old
Hmm.
Leviathan woman. Uh,
Yes, not the character from The Magicians, who's awesome. Um,
oh yeah, Margot wins. Margot's the queen. Clearly, she is, and she is.
mhm.
And I guess the last thing I have to say about this episode is that William can bake for me any day. I'm sorry, scones and banoffee pie, and I forget what the other one was, but it sounded really good.
Sticky buns.
Sticky buns, that's right. I have a lovely friend who hails from England who's living locally, and when she invites us over for high tea, you goddamn go to high tea because it's gonna be good
Mm.
because she bakes. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My mother is an Anglophile, and she has been on and off experimenting with scones for like the last few years.
Well, so my friend did a scone baking lesson for all of us. While we were in confinement, we did a Zoom scone lesson. So if your mom asked nicely, I'm sure my buddy Kate would walk her through the proper British way to make scones. So I'll see what I can do.
I will pass that along. All right.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on Supergirl. What did I miss?
No, I think we covered it. So I mean, so what news from Supergirl?
Well, as with the others, we've got a finale date, and that's going to be May 17th alongside Batwoman. So we have 2 more Supergirl episodes. Apparently, the finale is going to be quite the cliffhanger. Not a surprise. I suspect a lot of them are going to be because they aren't actual finales. But this is nice. Female Brainy is coming back for the finale. So that's Megan Rath. Jesse Rath's sister, who plays Brainy, is going to be back. I thought she was a great character. I'm looking forward to seeing her again.
Yay! All right. So moving on to The Flash. Season 6 penultimate episode. Pay the Piper. While all of Team Flash was really bummed out, Godspeed attacked and Barry had to go to the Pied Piper for help. Iris found Camilla in the mirror world, but began suffering severe headaches and dizziness. Ralph figured out that Frost was nervous about meeting Caitlin's mom. Last minute reveal, Eve woke in a containment pod and ready to take revenge on Joseph Carver.
So I have some highlights of this episode, and none of them are actual plot highlights. So I'm just going to put that out there. I just have to say, before we all went into, self-isolation quarantine time, I was talking with friend of the pod, Tanya Melendez, about how in Mirror World, why are those women still walking around in like fussy blouses and bras and high heels? And we were saying that's not how it would work. And we were talking last night. We now have confirmation that in a lockdown situation, everybody is in their stretchiest, comfiest, braless outfits with their hair just, a fright and no makeup. Like we now have confirmation that if you were shut away someplace and couldn't get out, you don't look like that. You don't look like that, Eve. You don't. We have confirmed it. She and I were zooming last night from a flat on the couch, flat hair, no manicure, comfiest clothes. Like, of course. So, confirmation. The mirror world is messed up. Everybody should be in sweats. All right. Let's talk about the episode.
Yeah, so this was the half that I mentioned earlier, the half great episode.
Wait, so did you not like the mirror world part?
No, actually, to me, the big problem was that this episode was way too heavy on the hall talks.
Go on.
I feel like it was every 5 minutes someone had to take someone aside and get like, "Hey man, you got to get it together. Like we need you. Like you come on, man, you're better than this." It was just, I mean, that happens like every episode, but I feel like this one they didn't have as much plot to get through, so they really had to pile on. I feel like that whole basically like the Caitlyn storylines have been for the last 2 episodes it felt so shoehorned that I felt like, oh, we don't have anything for Caitlyn to do, so let's just have her locked in her apartment and have someone tell her she's awesome.
Yeah, I almost wonder if they filmed a bunch of those at the same time so Daniel Panabaker could go on maternity leave, and so now they're just kind of dropping him into episodes kind of without thought about how it fits with the rest of the narrative, almost. I mean, I don't know that that's what they did, but she's clearly on a couch swaddled in a blanket, so I mean, it's definitely a pregnancy thing, but it does feel a little disconnected from everything, and I'm kind of, Ralph had been doing more interesting things prior to this, and now he's kind of stuck in this swamp of Caitlyn and Frosty. And I just gotta say, Killer Frost just really leaning hard into the daytime drag queen look for just laying about the house is impressive. Like that level of eye makeup and fake lashes. I applaud it.
That's not makeup. That's like her skin does that. That's not.
Okay, but this gets me to my most important point, which is, oh my god, she was reading Uncaged Desire by Rebecca Silver in advanced reader copy, and that whole detail just charmed me. So, mixed romance novels from Legends of Tomorrow made their way to The Flash, and Caitlin is a good enough friend that he's like, yeah, I'll give you the advanced reader copy. Leave me a good review on Goodreads, huh? Or, I'm sorry, leave me an honest review on Goodreads. So, yeah. Yeah. Hilarious. Okay, do we have to talk about Godspeed now?
Yeah. So we did get the thing that was really impressive, I thought, in this episode was Godspeed showing up for no explicit reason, and kind of dragging up that storyline, and realizing we still don't know who the real Godspeed is. But we got some really cool effects, and we got to see Pied Piper again. And thank God for Crisis, we got to completely retcon his entire storyline and give him a heartfelt backstory.
Yeah, The Flash doesn't have as much queer representation, so I thought that was really great. I thought that his anger and them slowly figuring out, wait a second, you guys aren't just, he's not just your henchman. Oh, I thought that was really nice. And I also do love what a dick Hartley is to everybody. He's so mean to Cisco.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yes.
And I like that we had super emo Cisco. He was very up in his feels this week.
Yeah, and and I thought that character, I even thought it was more animated than the previous time that we'd seen Pied Piper. And yeah, I thought they gave him an interesting backstory and an interesting conflict. I would be much more worried that there's still Godspeed out there. And that he was much more powerful, and they still haven't caught the real Godspeed, so maybe that's something we'll get into next season.
I assume most of this is stuff we're going to get into next season. By the way, I am amused that I accidentally said Goodspeed for a second, because I'm going to be on the Moving the Needle podcast next week. We're going to record, and we're doing The Rock versus Con Air, and of course Stanley Goodspeed is the Nick Cage character in The Rock. So apparently I've got Nick Cage on the brain, because I'm all like, Godspeed, no, I'm all about Goodspeed. Anyway, catch my appearance on Moving the Needle. I'm so sorry, let's keep going.
So yeah, and Iris having those headaches.
I like that Iris is starting to figure things out. I also like that she's starting to feel the effects. I mean, that's cool. Sure.
Yeah, and Cisco has the idea for the perpetual motion machine, which they think is going to be the way to beat Eve, and that he's going to have to go to Atlantis to find the key to it. Will we see Atlantis next week?
That sounds incredibly expensive, so no. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. But it's a nice idea. Sarah, do you remember that show Powerless?
I do. So Powerless was about the time that you and I met. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes.
But I feel like you were the only other person I knew who was watching that show outside of my household. But
yes.
Yeah, I love Powerless, and it was canceled too soon. That was a great show.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no one watched it.
You and me. That's it.
I remember the first special that we did promoting this, discussing Powerless a lot, and how kind of sad it was that it didn't get the audience it needed. But I don't know if you remember, but Ron Funch's character, it was eventually revealed in his episode that he was actually an Atlantean who was living in Gotham.
Yes.
So if Cisco goes to Atlantis, I kind of have a secret hope that he might run into Ron Funches. But that seems like a long shot.
Well, I feel like the Crisis really opened the door for a lot of that kind of casting crossover. So you never know. I mean, if it was anything involving Constantine, Matt Ryan would be there. But
yes. So yeah, and yeah. So now Eve is out. Eve is in the real world. Um, and Iris and Camilla and presumably Chief Singh are still trapped in the mirror world.
They didn't want to pay that actor this week, so he didn't appear, but presumably he's in there. Okay. So I don't love that we have a female villain this season, and all she wants to do is kill her husband. I just kind of feel like, think bigger. You don't have to just destroy your husband. You can take over the world. Or at least National City. I believe in you. Central City. Well, you can take National City too. Take all the cities.
Well, I mean, could you imagine if she succeeded and they put Columbo on the case? Because I don't know, Sarah, when was the last time you watched an episode of Columbo?
500 years ago.
Because I think thanks to my dad, I pretty much catch it on MeTV every weekend. Or is it Cozy? I can't remember. It might have switched to Cozy. Well, the thing about Columbo is they were always introducing new technology on that show, and for Columbo to be fascinated with. So you'd see a show from an episode from 1974, and someone has an answering machine, and he goes, "Oh my god, this is fantastic! Let me tell you, I can't. These machines, they could do anything now." And I would just love to see Columbo walk in and see that mirror tech, and so I can walk through this and get into whole nother world. That's fascinating. One more thing. That was a terrible Peter Falk impression. Kevin
No, that
Pollak.
was amazing.
Kevin Pollak, I apologize. Just to see Peter Falk try to make sense out of whatever the hell happens in the Flash next week.
Imagine if he did a runner through all the episodes on the CW. If he's just in Supergirl, just like VR. Huh.
Yeah.
You
He's
put
the
him
guy
in
who
your eyes.
I think that's it for Flash.
I think we have exhausted ourselves on Flash.
Since it's the trend this week, when is the finale for Flash?
Well, I feel like you kind of gave it away when you called it the penultimate episode in your summary, but yeah, it's next. It's this week. It's May 12th. So, are we prepared to say goodbye to Flash for the season?
I'm not.
I mean, I didn't get enough Sue Dibney. So. Or I'm
Good
sorry,
news.
Sue
Yeah.
Dearborn.
But the good news is that Stargirl will be taking its place.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a whole new show in 2 weeks, which I'm excited for. But
yes.
Sarah, we have one more episode to cover. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Last episode for this week is DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Season 5, Episode 11, Ship Broken. After Charlie tried to use the Loom of Fate and failed, the Wave Rider was sabotaged, Gideon went offline, and everyone suspected Astra. Sara woke up from her coma blind and having visions of everyone dying. Mick brought Lita on board for the weekend. Gary brought aboard his new emotional support dog, Gary Jr. Last minute reveal, Gideon scanned Sarah's eyes and found nothing wrong.
So pour one out for the set director who had to place dog puddles all over the set this week.
Yeah.
That was the cutest little hellhound.
And I did love that they kept it historical by making it the dog that told Son of Sam to kill people.
I know. Also, did that dog look a little bit like Wishbone?
Yes! Oh my god. You remember that show too?
I didn't ever watch it. I was too old, but I'm familiar with the concept of Wishbone.
Oh, you miss fun. Wishbone. For all the kids out there.
Or the olds.
Yes, yeah. Anyone who's not between the ages of like, I guess like 25 and 35. Wishbone was a TV show on PBS. It was a live action show about a kid who had a really cool dog named Wishbone, who knew all about literature, and it would go back and forth between whatever the problem the kid was having at school, and Wishbone having an adventure in literature, playing characters in literature like Dr. Frankenstein or D'Artagnan from the Three Musketeers. So yeah, lots of fun. I can't believe I'm explaining Wishbone.
I was gonna say, I didn't know you had this many thoughts about Wishbone. That's kind of delightful.
That was like one of like the 4 or 5 shows that me and both of my siblings could agree to watch. So my mother was willing to let us watch as much of that as we could, as long as because it meant the fighting would stop.
The fighting would stop.
Wow, So yeah, the dog in Legends did look kind of like Wishbone. And yeah. I mean, this show. I mean, I guess we should have been worried about Gary like 2 seasons ago, but his character is getting so weirder and weirder. At a certain point, what are they going to do with Gary?
They either have to make Gary fully evil or something, right? You're right. He is kind of drifting into increasing weirdness, but I love him. Every time he's on, I'm excited. I just loved Ava being like, "You have what? You brought what on the ship?"
And I mean, I only knew what an emotional support dog was because I've heard Adam Carolla complain about them on planes for like years and years. So otherwise, I would not have believed that this was an actual thing.
Oh, it's a thing. It's a thing.
But yeah, let's talk about father-daughter time with Mick and Lita.
Okay, here's what I have to say about this. A reluctant child calling somebody dad for the first time gets me every time. Every time. Right in the feels.
Yeah. Is she her father's daughter by seeing all of that treasure and immediately wanting to run a stock scam?
Yeah, if I was the mom in that situation, I'd be like, "Oh no, we need to not. This is not the kind of approved parenting time I'm okay with."
Although I gotta give points to Mick for being the mature one and not wanting her to get into that life.
Yeah, I thought he was being a very good dad there, other than being like, "Here's my spaceship." I mean, that's a lot for anybody to take in. Also, Nate became my enemy, being like, "Oh, I'm the coolest professor." All right, Nate, calm down.
Oh, come on. You know how long it's been since he's got to stretch that muscle.
That's true. That's true. That was actually a really good reminder that, oh yeah, he used to be a professor. Huh.
Yeah, and we got to see him use his powers, so that means we probably won't see him do it again for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, that's it. We got our, what is that, like the third version of that this season.
I mean, like, it's worse than Firestorm. Like, Firestorm was like every other episode. I feel like Nate actually uses his steel powers like once every 5th episode, and it's never actually during an action scene.
Yeah, he just knocks on his head to show off. That's not really okay.
And talking about the the main story this week. Okay, do you want to talk about Astra and Zari or Sara first?
You know what? Dealer's choice. They were both great.
Yeah. So Astra and Zari, I thought it was really interesting because both of those characters have been through a lot in this show. I mean Astra across two different series. Um and it was interesting to see like they're sort of finding common ground, but at the same point in are vastly different, and you realize that they're really the hopes of them working together are slim to none.
Yeah, it's not going to last long, but you're right. It is kind of interesting to see the two of them trying to figure out how to get by and make their goals align, which is not going to go well. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and kind of like the trust issues that they have. Whereas like there was no reason to not think that Astra was involved. Uh, um,
She did play them all, though.
yeah, yeah.
Nicely. Yeah.
And and for Sara, so like I guess this is a thing now. Um I thought it was interesting that they're flashing back to Crisis, and like her being the paragon of destiny,
Hmm.
um, is sort of playing into it, and like I'm wondering, like, is she going to be having much more visions from now on?
Well, I mean, we were promised that she'd get a superpower this season. So is this her superpower or is there more to it? I don't know.
Well, I think this is her superpower. I think the real concern is like how is she going to get her eyesight back?
Yeah, well, Gideon's not going to be able to help. I do love that she's very blasé about it at first. Oh, I train blindfolded all the time as an assassin thing. She was just like, and that actress herself seemed really comfortable running around blind. I don't know if they rigged a blindfold that you could see through, but I was really impressed with the way she was just kind of charging all over the set. If it's mildly dim in a room, I'm just like, oh, must move carefully. Don't want to sprain anything. But she's just like running into rooms. Hey, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad there's like another 4 or 5 episodes of this.
I was going to say, I'm glad that this show at least is going to get to tell the full story. It's my favorite of the CW DC shows, so if I had to pick one to get to see its whole season through, I'm really glad it's this one.
Hmm. All right, and when is Legends finale?
That's actually not until June 2nd, so that's going to be with us for a little while longer, which is awesome.
Yeah. All right, so and that's going to be running concurrently with Stargirl for a little while.
So we're going to have some 2-episode weeks, and then we'll just be Stargirl. Then it'll just be whatever retro pick you and I come up with. Oh my god, do you want to do Powerless?
If we gotta find it first, that's the hard part.
Don't let us down, HBO Max.
Yeah. It might be on Hulu. It might be. Gotta check. But all right. So and there's no other news, right?
Because there's no news this week. It's all there's just there's no news. That's what I got.
All right. So that means now it's time for our winners of the week.
I'm wondering if we're gonna have the same one this week.
Do you want to try saying it at the same time? Or
all right, let's do it.
1, 2, 3. Lex Luthor.
Lex. Yep. I feel like Lex was a triumph this week of character and writing and plotting, and also of John Cryer's acting.
Yes.
It worked on all levels.
Yes. Yeah, it worked. Yeah, yes. And it's so cool to see that actor, who had a supporting part in Superman 4. A lot who I think was personally disappointed with how that movie turned out. to see. I mean, he's already redeemed himself tenfold over the course of this series and in Crisis, but I think this has been his best episode so far. And one of the few, like, a really great adaptation of Lex Luthor from the comics, just to see like how his brain works, and how hell-bent he is, and and how smart he is, yet his hatred for Kryptonians is the one thing that kind of like fouls him up. um and like if he'd actually put his mind to work, he could actually be a really, really great and powerful and good person. um
Mm-hmm. I just love that fatal flaw.
So all right. And Sarah, we finished the episode.
We did an episode.
Yep. I am so worried about what's going to happen with this microphone, but
well, we better wrap it up fast before it explodes.
We're not recording again. So all right, that's the DC TV report for this week. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Little Eddie O'Hare.
And I'm at Sara Netzley, SaraNetzley.
And follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice. And rate and review us. That helps more people find us. Check out our sister show, the Wicked Theory Podcast. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer, Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam!
Shazam!